Hello, folks. How are we all doing? My name's Cahir and this is a good friend of mine, Mark Toner. Mark, how's things?
Very good, mate. Very good. Just finished working out, so you need to bear with me, but we'll get there.
The endorphins are flowing. So usually as part of the Why the Long Face series, essentially what I've been doing is bringing on individuals and giving them a few questions to answer in regards to mindset, mental health, and what makes them tick. But I asked Mark last week to come on and chat with me and do something similar. But then, when I got talking to you last Friday, I thought it would be a good idea to you're someone that has regularly brought me out of my comfort zone in terms of my fitness, and then as well in terms of my mindset as well through talking to you in the gym. And I thought it would be a good idea to do the same with you. And then
Beautiful.
Hopefully it'll get the conversation rolling as well.
We'll get a bit more daylight in this. There we go. That's us now.
So for anyone that doesn't already know who Mark is an affiliate owner within Castlewellan. He has his own CrossFit gym, and he now has Infected Lifestyle. That's actually down here. So Infected Lifestyle, as far as I'm concerned, seems to be it's a mix between mindset and physical fitness. What would be your take on it, Mark?
We try and approach three things. So you're right, physical fitness, which is massively important. But as I sort of learned the hard way, which we'll probably get into, it can't be the only thing.
Okay.
Mindset is definitely the second pillar in that, but it's probably the biggest as we know, and the reason why we're doing this. Mm-hmm. And then the third one, which is the most overlooked one, is nutrition. And unless you're fueling your body properly, everything else is going to break down somewhere. And the interesting one about nutrition, like I know for myself that fitness can definitely take you a long way. Mm-hmm. Like me and you've ran into mindset, you can start hitting them problems as soon as you kind of become an adult. And if that's when you're 22, or if that's when you're 28, or if that's when you're 33, you're going to run into that stuff. Nutrition's the sneaky little mother, because it doesn't actually catch up on you. Yes, you mightn't look and feel too good, and you mightn't feel like you're super confident in your body, but it doesn't really catch up with you until your body starts slowing down. And that's when, look at chronic disease, cancer, all kinds of illnesses. And we kind of put that into place now, but you might get away with the fitness stuff, and it keeps you kind of good till you get that wee bit older. Definitely people get sick younger. But does anybody know anybody who's not over 50 who's not sick in some kind of way? Yeah. So that's where I'm passing it.
You can't drive a rocket to the moon on red diesel, huh?
That's red diesel. You guys know all about the red diesel.
I'm telling you, certainly do. You're allowed to drop F-bombs in this as well, so don't be afraid.
Are you?
So essentially the way we've structured this, I have 28 words here spanning across mindset, fitness, nutrition, and then a few other things there as well. So I'm going to ask you to choose between 1 and 28, and I'm going to choose the word, and you're going to give me your perception on what you feel about, we're just going to talk about it. So if you want to start off there, between 1 and 28, Mark.
5.
Okay, good start. Meditation. Give me your
Beautiful
meditation.
It's a journey similar to your fitness journey. For me, it started out with the Headspace app.
Yeah.
I suppose, though, now what I know is kind of a lot of things fall under the bracket of meditation. So we take, for example, gardening.
Yeah.
This is stuff that's only coming to me lately. But people find meditation in a lot of different ways. Essentially what it is, it's coming out of your thinking mind and just being in the present moment. That's what you're looking for. That's not easy in today's world, in the modern world that we live in, particularly being like in your 20s and in your 30s. In the world, I feel like we're at a tipping point now, but the world is kind of chaotic. Mm-hmm. So for me, meditation is 20 to 45 minutes each day where I essentially come out of my body almost, and I kind of leave this realm for a while. If somebody said this to me 2 years ago, I'd be like, yeah, good lad, you're full of shite, mate. You belong in a monastery. That's the truth. But meditation it's kind of the daily practice for me that's most important. I will know the days that I have meditated and the days that I haven't. And I know myself, I can only do a couple of days without meditation now. And I'm like, shit, right, I need to get back into that, because your thinking mind goes and gets overpowered. So I think the actual practice, what we now, me and you know as meditation, is that, it can be 3 minutes, it can be 45 minutes, but that's sort of time where you're just following your breath and trying to come out of your mind. That's massively important. But it can't, for a lot of people, maybe CrossFit for a significant period of their lives could seem like meditation. The problem with that, them type of meditation, is that and gardening and watching Netflix, if it's kind of the same thing, is you don't really get an answer. You don't really feel your body. You don't really come out of your mind. Whereas if you do the actual practice of meditation, like the Buddhist way, then you get where you need to be a lot faster.
I started meditating. I tried meditation when I was about 19 or 20, just completely disregarded it. Didn't give it enough time, didn't give it enough energy. And it was only actually when I came into the gym, you started bringing up this meditation stuff again. I think maybe you and maybe a few others. It was definitely you, and it could have been 80. I started getting into meditation and started, give it my all. And I think the beauty in it for me is, as you said, you can do your 40 minutes, you can do your 45 minutes, but it's then when you're able to breathe that into other areas of your life. So for me, if I'm in a panicked situation, meditation and consistently meditating allows me to, instead of thinking about tomorrow, instead of thinking about yesterday, what might have happened, bringing myself into the present and allowing myself to just, just fucking breathe. Like, like at the minute, all myself and yourself have to deal with is we're sitting talking here through some sort of a virtual application, and we're communicating, and that's all that's going on. There's nothing really else to deal with at the minute. So I think definitely meditation for me is, I definitely notice as well, if I haven't meditated for 2 or 3 days, my head starts to rush. So a fantastic practice. Hit me with another number there.
20.
Okay. Breakthrough.
I suppose, like, for me, it's not exactly the word breakthrough, but the lowest point being your turning point.
Yeah.
People say that to you. It was my auntie, actually, DeirdreMcGuire.com, who was kind of how I say her name these days, but I try and push people in her direction because that's her work, and she saves lives in that regard. Mm-hmm. So she said, for me, your lowest point is your turning point, and this is in the middle of my lowest point. And I'm like, mate, this does not feel like my turning point. This is most like, well, who's talking about turning here? This is death, or almost. But essentially, that is the breakthrough. It takes it took maybe 6 months to realize, Jesus, that actually was my turning point or my breakthrough point. And I feel like that's kind of what's transpiring in this time and kind of moving forward in life. So definitely, if people are attracted to this kind of content, it's because they're searching for something. And you may not have hit your lowest point yet, or you may be rapidly moving towards it.
Yeah.
Assuming that you ask for help, which is what you need to do. That's number one. Then your lowest point can definitely become your breakthrough or your turning point.
Yeah. And can you have multiple breakthroughs, do you think?
Daily
breakthroughs.
On the daily.
Absolutely. And I think, there's two things there. I think in Ireland, Northern Ireland, the unfortunate thing is we seem to wait until we're literally falling off a cliff until we do seek that help. But then, you know, a caveat to that would be that adversity, real growth, real development comes from that adversity as well. And taking that out and saying, right, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from it? So, you know, I would have had, I don't know whether you want to call it breakthrough. For me, it was a low point as well in December. A few different things had went on. My mum was actually diagnosed with cancer. So gave us all a kick up the ass. You know, what are you doing with your life? What's working for you? What's not working for you? And the big thing for me was anytime I would have drank maybe twice a month, but it was the aftermath, see, for 3 or 4 days afterwards, just an absolute inability to deal with hangovers and the emotional sensitive. I would be quite an emotionally sensitive person. So I just realized, right, that's the elephant in the room. I need to cut that out and start, you know, working on myself. And I think, you know, when I moved to Castlewellan and joined yourselves at the CrossFit, see, yourself, you didn't really drink that much from what I can remember. That was like a breath of fresh air for me, because, you know, I honestly, I couldn't have counted on my hands, still can't, the amount of people that I know that are living, you know, really contented and happy lives, you know, especially in Armagh, around where I'm actually from, that aren't, you know, drinking regularly or doing things, not actively looking after their mental health, you know. So, no, fantastic.
Just on that summarizes my passion in a sentence. I lost my grandfather to suicide when I was 13. He was an alcoholic. Alcoholism has been wired into our family, and it's not just our family, into the framework of our country. Yeah. And people don't know how to get away from it. It's a soothing mechanism. My downturn was December the previous year from yours. So I had been drinking. I had hit a point over the past from 2015, 2016. And I mean, all of this is in my podcast if you want to get it in depth, but I'd hit a stage where I was drinking almost every day and still running an affiliate, like going home from work on a Tuesday night and getting cracked into. Initially, like everything, it starts with 1 or 2 beers during the week, and then it's a piss up at the weekend. Yeah. It had got to the stage where I was starting to have like 3 or 4 beers every night, like pint bottles. Okay. And like going into work with a bit of a hangover and a bit of a cloudy head, and starting to think like, I think it's one of the words, maybe ecstasy, which we might get to. But for me, it was drugs in my youth. That was my like turn on. And then I was never really much of a like soothing drinker. Like I go out and get smashed like everybody before you head out. But I wasn't like thinking on a Monday or Tuesday here I might have a beer. It had got to the stage then where I was like, I couldn't see any reason why not to have a beer at the end of work every day. Yeah. It's difficult in a gym when the gym closes at 9 o'clock and sometimes it opens at 5:30. So if you go home and have 4 beers, you don't have too many hours to get your head straight. And then this kind of starts becoming something that you get more and more comfortable with. And then there's a lot of sort of crazy incidents that happened in them dark years. Like particularly, I do remember times when my brother Neil came into me and he was like, "What are you at?" And I was like, "Just having a few beers." And I'd become so normal. I'd normalized it so much that people around me kind of seen it as a bit of a joke. Whereas I was like, "What's wrong with these dickheads?" Like, I'm just relaxing. And in hindsight, looking back, I wasn't relaxing. I was starting into a spiral that nearly cost me my life. There was other times where I went to the off license on a Thursday, came home with a case of beer. I remember this happening one time in particular and being like, "That'll do me for the month." And Leah being like, right. And then like a week later, she's like, "Where's the rest of that beer?" I was like, "Fuck that." And then what had happened is I was just drinking away at it without even knowing, like just kind of like, you've had 4 and suddenly that adds up and you've had 40 beers in a week. And you're like, what's happening here? So my dark side, you probably missed it. It was a year beforehand.
Yeah. And like, I know personally as well, like in my actual work, mentoring on a daily basis, like I was going into work and giving advice to people. And I had a serious case of imposter syndrome, like, in that, like, I was giving people advice that I wasn't actually currently taking. So, like, for me, it was, for me, and I think, from what you're saying there as well, it's like, it's nearly something that we had to do, from a perspective of, practicing what you preach in some regard. So, I mean, for me as well, it's like, I have enough energy as an individual on a daily basis anyway without alcohol. And I never really, the relationship was, for me, it was escapism, getting out of my own head. And the only sustainable way of me, getting away from that was dealing with my past, as you done with Deirdre. And, as you continue to do through the Mark Toner podcast, I know it's gaining popularity and it's getting more popular as the episodes roll out. But, it's definitely, alcohol definitely wasn't the job for me. Hit me with another number there.
13.
Ecstasy.
A lot of, I mean, if you had to say what was your drug, ecstasy was my drug.
Okay.
I probably took my first pill. I know where I took my first pill. I took a half a pill on the way into Planet Love. Well, actually, it was God's Kitchen back in them days in the Ulster Hall, and I think it was 15. It was on Boxing Day, and then the next summer I went to Ibiza for a week. So it was 15, 16. In hindsight, it was all a massive waste of time. If there was avenues, and this is why I'm excited about doing this with you, and this is why I'm excited about like the likes of obviously Deirdre's work. Shout out to 80 Dev as well. Follow 80 Dev. He's moving in the same direction and doing the same stuff as we are. Neil Toner as well, same idea, trying to push a better message, because we were all kids trying to survive in a crazy world, and we didn't have any coping mechanisms, and we didn't have any skills, and we didn't have any tools, and we didn't even know how to talk about these things. So for me, that was 15 to I was 25 probably. I had a decade of raving. It definitely taught me a lot. It taught me that there was unity between people, particularly between men, that was never spoke about and was never even, there was no context to how I just felt very much as an individual. And then you went to these raves and you felt like you were part of something bigger. What I know now is you can have conversations like this and actually feel that connection, and you don't need to play about with the chemicals in your head and feel depressed for 4 days. And like the thing with ecstasy is you end up chasing it. So it started out with half a pill on the way into God's Kitchen when I was 15, and another half a pill at midnight, say. So I had one ecstasy tablet. By the end of it, and particularly the darkest sort of times, was an ex-girlfriend that he used to go out with. We were going to a nightclub in Belfast, and we stayed up the next day. I'd kind of got to the stage where ecstasy wasn't doing anything for me, but I was still taking it. And I remember one time in particular, like, it's dark when you think about it, like having like the guts of 15-ish to 20 pills right through the Sunday, and then not getting out of bed to the Thursday. And it was so bad that she went home, and then she came back to my house on like the Wednesday with a takeaway. And that was the first time I'd eaten or left the house. And I was a paranoid wreck. I was paranoid enough, never mind without this. I had rough enough, my grandfather at 13 and other things that happened in my life. And this was the time when I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I remember I was at university, I was at Queen's University in Belfast. So I mean, I was ticking all the boxes. I looked like I was a Queen's student, whatever that means. And didn't get out of bed I think it was like the Thursday morning or something. And I remember getting like some sort of stinking chippy and couldn't taste it. Like whatever was gone. And I had this depression in my head, this dark, like the serotonin is so zapped out of your brain that it takes a while for it to rebuild. And this is kind of what happens when you get into these drugs, is you start learning about them, because you're like, at this stage, there wasn't even 3 or 4 hours of good times for me. It was kind of like, I nearly used to say this, I used to kind of take pills and just go straight down. It wasn't enough because I was taking them so frequently. And it got to that Thursday, and like my body was minging. I felt absolutely desperate. And then from that, I'd kind of like, there was a big gap after that. And then I dabbled a couple more times, and then I was like, right, that's not for me. It sort of was in a similar time frame to where I really started to take fitness seriously and be like, right, I need to change my life here, because this is desperate.
And fitness then for you was the first, will we say, coping mechanism as such, get out of that circle?
It definitely, it kind of made me feel similar, but there was no downward spiral. You know what I mean? Like I'd always been into training. I'd always played sports and stuff, but I'd never really done that much of the high intensity side of it. So like there was a while in there, like I played about with boxing and like MMA, and that was it was probably the intensity actually. My mate had an MMA gym, and it was the first time I'd really experienced that intensity that we know now comes from CrossFit. And the release of endorphins after that. And so the similarities made sense. But like, I mean, this doesn't end, and this is like, there's a big dip. You can hit it again tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after. So, I mean, maybe there's something that I feel like our whole journey brings us along, and every part of it makes sense. And probably the ecstasy made sense at some point. But I would love now, this is what I'm passionate about it. I'd love to hear a conversation like this and have an avenue to go down where it's okay to talk about your emotions, and then maybe you don't need to lose 10 years of your life doing something that's destroying you.
Have you ever looked into like the butterfly effect? So essentially what I'm trying to say is, like, do you feel that you had to go through the ecstasy years to appreciate, like, for example, myself and yourself having a conversation here about mental health and drugs? Or
not to the depth. I was kind of always seeking answers.
Okay.
So I wouldn't change anything in my life, but I feel like I could have been, like, I feel like if you're 20 and you're listening to this, there's another way that's going to guide you and tick so many more boxes. There's nothing from that life that I ever achieved anything. Like, I don't look back on the times I was in Ibiza now and go, oh, I can't wait to go to Ibiza this summer. It's desperate to me now. It's like, that is such a waste of your life. But when you're in the thick of it, you've no idea. Now, if somebody was on a YouTube in a Northern Ireland / Irish accent talking like this, I would have found it, and I probably would have been like, I need to do what these guys are doing, because their eyes are clear. They're not standing in a nightclub. Like, I love listening to trance and stuff, and I love playing it when I work out. But there's no need to go to a state of trance in the Amsterdam Arena and stand and dance for 12 hours. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Oh, it is. And I think definitely you might, well, I would say you would know it yourself as well, though, Mark. It's like, you do listen to people, see people that have, like yourself there. It was clear to me as soon as I walked into CrossFit, in fact, that it was like, right, here's someone that knows what they're talking about, is doing well for themselves, but also has mileage. So for me, I would rather listen and take advice off someone like you, who is educating themselves, who has the knowledge in terms of their fitness and is moving very quickly into mindset and mental health as well, than someone that has studied for 5 years in university.
I'll give you a quote, Cahir, that ties right in with this. It's one I posted last night that I seen.
But no, absolutely. Like, it's definitely, I feel it's important for people to have mileage. Like, and give advice based on their own past experience as well as the education.
Carl Jung has loads of great quotes. One of them that I seen last night: "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless the roots reach down to hell."
Oh yeah.
And I believe that's what you're talking about there. That you need, like, I feel like you need to have explored the darkness within you to see the darkness in other people, and you can kind of tell that. Like, I think that's what you're alluding to. Is I felt the same connection with you. It was like, this has got dark here somewhere, you know what I mean? Because you know the darkness in each other, and that's probably what is allowing us the freedom to move in. Like, we had a great conversation on Friday about like I can't not do this mental health stuff now. Like, I can't turn it off, because I know how dark that is, and I also know that I dragged myself out of that. And I know other people don't need to drag themselves out of it. They need to listen. Like, it doesn't need to be taking 15 pills in your house on a Sunday and the Holy Lands and lying in bed to the Thursday and wanting to die. There's another way, but you just have to talk about it. You have to open up about it.
Close the blinds at 5 o'clock in the morning. Definitely.
Never open them.
But Carl Jung, he talks as well about the shadow, and the different the archetypes or the personalities that everyone has. So everyone has obviously their various aspects of their conscious and their subconscious, but he feels that everyone has a shadow, a dark side, and I definitely believe that everyone has something that doesn't sit quite right with them in terms of their morals and their values. But I think, like, I recognize that in myself, and like, from speaking with you as well, it's like, I think it's important that we recognize that as well, and like, let them in, and welcome them in, because it's there in all of us. We just need to recognize it, embrace it, and use it to our advantage if possible.
Using it to your advantage is key. Like, you're 100% right. Everybody has a dark side, but it's how much of that percentage is the darkness. So fucking 99.5% of me was darkness for most of my life. Now about 10% of me is darkness. The thing that I'm able to do in CrossFit is turn into that darkness whenever I need to. I have days where I wake up and when I'm training, I'm like, I want to hurt today. Let's go, motherfucker. And then I have days where it's like, I'm just a butterfly here, and I'm going to be good to myself, and I'm going to do these thrusters in sets of 5s and not try and do 15 and fucking see how close I can get to passing out. So it's nice to have it. I just hope that people can listen to this and maybe resonate with them, but you don't need to destroy your body. You can be very dark. I suppose for me, I was very dark before I ever got involved in drugs. I'd like to intercept people somewhere in the early stages of that and try and help them out of it and be like, it's okay to embrace your darkness. You just don't need to lose 10 years.
100%. I know exactly what you mean in terms of the fitness. I know I'm embracing that side of me when I have, like, when I'm doing a WOD or I'm doing a workout and I have Rage Against the Machine on, or The Prodigy. That's when I know it's coming out. Right. Give me another number, my friend.
7.
Murph. Terrible experience. Murph is first.
Pardon? A workout? 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, 30 air squats, and then a 1 mile run. I don't have a good time with Murph because it's a bodyweight WOD, and that's not my jam. Throw 100 thrusters in there and it'll change things up a bit, but I tend to do Murph once a year. I kind of don't really improve in it that much because it's a mental test. But I suppose, I mean, a lot of CrossFit workouts are like that. They're mental tests. I actually haven't done Murph this year.
Yeah.
I might throw it in someday when I feel like it.
But around this time of year, don't you?
We usually do, yeah. Just at the minute, just without really having, at the minute the gym's closed currently, and just I'm taking some time to explore these avenues of mental health and see about really. I mean, I'm in a learning phase. Like I literally, when I get off this today, till 7:30 p.m. I've got a meditation call tonight at 7:30 p.m.
Yeah.
But until that, it's just go time. I'm learning. Like I wanna have the language, and I want to be able to articulate the stuff that I feel now. So I'm actually enrolled in 2 courses at the minute to try and learn it. That aside, though, Murph, don't run too hard in that first mile. Ooh. Don't get too greedy in that first set of pull-ups. I've seen people hang on for 50 pull-ups at the start of Murph and then be doing singles by the end. Terrible. Push-ups for me are motherfucker. Like the push-ups are I'm doing them in singles by about 100.
I feel that some of the workouts that are programmed and some of the workouts that have been designed in CrossFit are just fantastic to just test your sheer grit and determination. Are you willing? Because your body's telling you in every single part of my body through a workout like Murph is telling me you should stop. Like, you should stop. This isn't good for you. This isn't good for your body. But I mean, the feeling that you get after it as well, it does set you up for, like, you know, I know with the MMA as well, I'm actually doing karate up here in the town at the minute. And bringing yourself out of your comfort zone in those sorts of situations just set you up then in other areas of your life that, say you're walking throughout the day and you get maybe a call in work that isn't ideal, you know, relative to Murph or relative to getting punched in the face for 3 minutes. It's like, maybe it's not as bad. So yeah, I wanted to bring that one up because I don't like Murph.
Have you done it recently? Have you done it recently?
I haven't. I done Cindy there on Thursday.
Nice. That's similar, like different but similar, like another horrible creature.
I don't mind the bodyweight ones as well. I don't like throwing a barbell about though, you know yourself.
True. And that's the beauty of fitness in today's world, and CrossFit in particular is like, that's the key to it actually. Like, as I say that, I don't love Murph. I don't shy away from them kind of workouts either. If you're 20 minutes slower than, for me, if I'm 20 minutes slower than Leah, then so be it, because it's kind of like that comfort zone thing. If it was just, Fran used to be my jam, not so much now, but used to have a sub 3 minute Fran, and that was my thing. But that doesn't mean that I just then do Fran and just love that. You have to approach the stuff. It's kind of similar to life. Like, if we take, for example, handstand push-ups in CrossFit have been my nemesis for my entire life. And I did have a period where I hated them. Now I just embrace everything. And that's kind of what you learn, maybe through CrossFit, maybe through fitness, but definitely applicable to life, is you need to face all parts of it. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have times when you feel uncomfortable. But if you just shy up and curl up, you're never going to grow and you're never going to expand. To be confident enough to do talks like this and podcasts, like, kind of, if you think back to the days when maybe you were partying in the Holy Lands or something, could you imagine that you were going to get on here and talk some shit and feel free to talk about it?
Not a chance. The big thing is
a different conversation.
Oh, here, it would be a different conversation. And see, then, with regards to, if we bring that then into the learning that you're doing at the minute and the courses that you're doing. So are you out of your comfort zone at the minute?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To be honest, the first couple of weeks, I'm in 2 courses, so I'm only on week 2 in one of them. I'm in week 5 in the other one. Before the first one, we had to do a Zoom call like this with like 8 people. Most of them are in California. The call started with, how do you feel energetically and how is this showing up in the world?
Okay.
I couldn't answer that. I grew up in Northern Ireland. What the fuck does that mean to me? See, now I'm on them calls. I'm talking about my vibration, how I'm feeling the energy of the universe. So I was nervous the first time, but it's kind of, when I was living out in Brisbane in Australia, I took 2 kickboxing fights. The first one was to see if I had the balls to do it, and the second one was to make sure I had the balls to do it. After the second one, I was kind of like, right, I don't really need anything else from this. But it was that thing of, just go forward and go at him. It's one of Conor McGregor's quotes, and I find the whole Conor McGregor journey fascinating. Not so much now that he has 100 million and everything else, but the build-up and the belief, the early days, I was really invested in that in the early days, was in Dublin, was in Vegas twice, and then it got a bit crazy, and I was like, right, I got what I needed from that. But see that like approach to life is I'll go forward and I'll go at him, in the sense of, if you have something you want to do, whether it's, run a CrossFit gym, get into mental health, or whatever that relates to you, go forward and go at it. Otherwise, you're going to be depressed somewhere along the lines. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to be on your deathbed and you're going to say, you know what? I let fear win in that situation. There was that situation that came up and fear won that. So where I've been mentally, I was suicidal in 2018. I nearly died. Only that I have an auntie who is skilled in this. I would be dead because I wouldn't have asked anybody else for help.
Yeah.
I know this is your line of work. I wouldn't have phoned you. I wouldn't have phoned some random guy in Belfast. I was lucky that the person closest to me in that scenario was actually a skilled practitioner who had traveled the world. So it's like I'm in a big transition in my life. I have no idea what's coming next, to be honest, but I can't not put the time in to learn this stuff, because I don't want to be lying on my deathbed and go, you know what, you had a chance there. You had a chance to talk about things. You had a chance to maybe help change consciousness in this part of the world in some regard.
Yeah.
And yet I can't let fear win that anymore, because this all nearly ended for me in December 2018. So feel the fear and do it anyway.
Yeah. Do you use that context? Like, would you, at times of low motivation or times that, you're maybe feeling, I couldn't really be bothered meditating for 45 minutes today, would you bring yourself back to 2018 and say, wait there, back into it some?
Every day. Let's go, motherfucker. Every day. Let's go, motherfucker. It's like, and this is the thing you said earlier, and I meant to say as well, do you feel like you have a breakthrough every day, or can you have multiple breakthroughs, is what you said? 100%. I didn't want to do 120 thrusters and run 2K there in my driveway 40 minutes ago. So I'd get a pizza tonight if it didn't want to be in shape. All them same things that everybody has, I feel them. I've just got better at overcoming myself. That's it. Yeah. I've just practiced it more. I've just showed up, looked myself in the mirror and goes, let's go, motherfucker. So that's kind of how you have to approach all of these things. But it has to start with you doing one thing for yourself that is right for you. That's part one.
Overcoming resistance, massive. Right. Give me, I'm going to get 2 more numbers off you. Mark. Give me
2. Let's go 2. 2 little ducks.
Oh, I've been wanting this one to come up. God.
Woo! I like to talk to God and Satan.
Okay.
That's actually from a Biffy Clyro song. Okay. But I don't believe in the problem of God that has caused the problems on this island. Okay. So that's not God to me. Whatever everybody has decided, this is our God, right? Let's fight. There's something bigger.
Yeah.
There's something more.
Yeah.
There's a connectiveness. I don't think when this life ends, actually, I know, I don't recommend that people do psychedelics because you have to deal with a lot of your shit first. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be a massive wave of psychedelics in the next 3 to 9 years. That's actually what's predicted. What are psychedelics? They're plants. They're fucking plants. They grow on the ground. Why are they here? Right? Yeah. I've had 3 psychedelic journeys recently.
Okay.
What people think is God, I would question that. But I respect people's beliefs. I think that's what the world is about. If you are fully invested in God, that's yours. Get after it, enjoy it. If that's doing it for you, if you get up in the morning and do whatever you need to do to make you have the most fulfilled life. And that's rock with that, go with that. I've seen some things recently, that's all I can say. And shit's weirder than we think. Whatever works for you, works for you. My anticipation of the word God means universe. And I feel like the universe is this vast thing that we don't fully understand and we can't. And anybody who tells you that they know more or they're closer to that than you, and maybe they're dressed up as a wizard, and maybe they're not. We're all the same, mate. You know what I mean? We're all the same. You can't, whatever. But if it works for you, I respect that. Respect every human. So that's yours to look after. But just, I encourage people to look into it.
Would you be under the understanding, is Mark Toner in control of everything in Mark Toner's life?
No.
What do you mean by that? So is
Mark Toner is a concept, right? Mark Toner is not, that's something that's put on you. You're born into this inexplicable thing.
Right.
And you get a name. You're not Cahir Clancy. Somebody put that on you.
Piece of meat walking around the earth.
100%, mate. This is a meat suit. This doesn't even belong to me. I don't know what's going on here. When I started this energetics course 5 weeks ago, the guy said on the first week, and you have to fill out a form each week of where you are, and you can be energetically in your body. You can be energetically in the room and feel your energy in the room.
Yeah.
Or the third one, which you're aiming for, is you can energetically feel yourself in the universe. Yeah. Week one, I knew it was on to something. I wouldn't have paid $2,000 to get into it. But I was like, the kind of thing that we do here in Ireland, your man's full of shite. Do you know what I mean? Like I was sitting in, I was on a phone call with him and I was like, he's full of shite. That won't work for me. I'm telling you, mate, 5 weeks into this, I feel like I'm floating. That's the only way I can describe it. It's mental.
It's infectious. Pardon the pun.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it is. It is. When someone comes into the room and they have energy, and you feel the energy as soon as they come onto the call or you're talking with them, and they instantly lift your own psyche and your own mood to that level.
So explain that. This is the part, right? This is the part I want to know. And there isn't an answer. This is a rhetorical question, but
okay.
What the fuck's going on here? But explain what that is.
Ooh. My reasoning for asking you about God is because I do feel that there is benefit. See, for anyone that thinks that they have entire control, they need to control and have autonomy over all aspects of their life. They're in for a fucking hard time.
It's your ego, the egoic mind, a great book. The Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday.
Yeah.
Like your ego is here to protect you. So I can see this, right? I have two nephews. One of them is 8 and the other one was just 1 last week.
Yeah.
So the conscious mind isn't formed in the 1-year-old, but the conscious mind is starting to become present as an 8-year-old. So with Ollie, so Theo's running into windows, smashing. His nose was bleeding the other day, and he's unconscious. He's just running about like, what the fuck? He's just energy. Ollie's starting to become aware of his conscious mind. So before it was like, take a photograph, and although he does love photographs, but even like you could, he was so much freer. And now it's kind of been, so your ego's there to protect you. So now he's kind of, I can see this with his mates. Like he's kind of trying to fit in, as we all do. We all did this. And he's trying to find his place of survival, which is essentially your ego going, I need to join the tribe. I need to fit in here. I need protection, and I need to function in this world. For me, from 8 to 32, your ego is your enemy because you're stuck in that egoic mind. You can then take steps to break free of it. And when you break free, you're able to be free and be yourself, which is where I am today.
Yeah.
That's a process. So in like tying that back into God, it's kind of like if whatever you're doing works for you and makes you feel wholesome, let's do that. but just don't be trying to fit into a tribe, because if you, let's say, go to mass every Sunday, it makes you fit into the place. You know, like I see people going to mass because, you know, well, my mom and dad said to go. Are you happy? Do you want to go? No, but it's, well, if the key to all of this is you doing what's right for you.
Yeah.
No matter if you grew up and everybody in your house is blessing themselves when they leave the house and kissing statues and all that kind of stuff. If it works for you, 100%, I support that. Do what's right for you. But if it's not working for you, then we need to have a conversation here, because we need to see what's happening in your mind to make you feel like you need to do that, because you're going to be on your deathbed unfulfilled in your life then.
Yeah, 100%. I think there needs to be a clear distinction between, when I ask people that question, they automatically think religion, God / higher power / something else are two completely different things. And I think people, especially in this country, get lost in that, you know, because I know I'm not religious at all, but I choose to believe that there's something else. Not entirely sure what it is, but I choose to believe, because it takes a bit of the anxiety and a bit of the sting out of my day. If I can say, right, okay, you know, as long as I sit in the passenger seat here and do the next right thing, work towards my goals, work towards my purpose, and I have that understanding that I'm being guided by an alternative force, not quite sure what it is, that's okay. Just do the next right thing. Give
just
me
on
one.
that, like if my grannies heard me saying any of this, God rest them, they both passed away, but I'd be slapped. Like, I grew up in that deep Catholic tradition, and I mean, I respect it. It served a lot of purpose in their lives. So don't get me wrong. This isn't an anti-religion thing, but this is a personal thing. This is about, here, mate, what's going on in your head, and let's have a talk about that, because I can help you with that kind of thing.
You look in mass, I always find it, and when I go back, you know, for a christening or funeral, I just think it's crazy the way, like, you know, you kneel, you sit, you stand, you know, everyone sitting there is like really monotonely like reciting this passage of words that someone it wasn't Jesus, or it wasn't in the Bible, you know, someone has decided these words need to be said in this order. I just think it's very cultish, in my opinion.
But then you see some of them ones in America where they're up singing and clapping and dancing and all. I'm like, that's the sort of shit we need to have going here.
I'm all for
everybody
that.
Having a wee bit of a boogie. I'd be up for going to that on a Sunday. Where do you go to that?
Let's get one of them going in Castlewellan or Newcastle.
Yeah. Get a tent.
Yeah. Right, give me one more number.
Number 1.
Okay. Haters.
Woo. This is a journey too, I suppose. It's what you'll get to a stage along that journey where I use the terminology, I just don't give a fuck, but that is really an expression of what I really mean to say is I love myself more than anybody now.
Yeah.
And I wasn't always like that. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know what that meant. I thought that was, if you gel your hair in school, he loves himself, because that's what I heard. You know, that was the way of it. Yeah, it was a negative. I didn't know what that meant. I don't think a lot of people on this island know what that means. I don't think they know how to embrace it. What it essentially means is putting yourself first. So whenever you break away from the tribe, whatever that tribe is or whatever it looks like, you're going to have people who aren't happy with your freedom.
Yeah.
So essentially what a hater is there's an analogy called the disco ball analogy, which is when they're hating, it projects back onto them. So essentially, if you're hating that Mark Toner has, let's say, a podcast, because he's doing it and you don't have that freedom to do it in your mind or in yourself, that's actually reflects back onto you to show you where you're vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's what we're kind of always up against here, in a place where it's new to speak out. You know, this is a post-war generation. It's kind of new to talk about some of these things. And on the Mark Toner podcast, I talk about a lot of stuff that probably hasn't been talked about here before, if I'm being honest. It's probably the first time that a lot of this stuff has ever been spoke about. And I like to do it tactfully, and I don't want to try and bring haters on board, but they're inevitable. It's the fact of life. And the stage you get to when you go deep enough is you actually can't see them. You actually cannot see them. That's like, there's actually a couple of podcasts out of Newcastle now. Hey, one of them is Caroline McKenna.
Okay.
And I was on her podcast last week. It's called The County Down Under. And I think she's on podcast 7 and I'm on podcast 50, something 53 or 54. And she was saying like, oh, you know, I can kind of feel like there's loads of positivity, but there's a wee bit of negativity I can see creeping in. And I was like, that's just because you're doing it, Caroline. That's because you're stepping out, and that's because you're doing it. And it's that thing of when you step out somewhere, you change. I'm not the Mark Toner I was at the start of COVID-19. Never mind the Mark Toner I was in 2018. Never mind the Mark Toner I was in 2015 when I opened the gym. Never mind the fucking Mark Toner I was when I was taking ease when I was a 21-year-old.
Yeah.
So I'm moving through dimensions, literally, as I now know from the experience I have, and I'm changing. I'm becoming a different human.
Yeah. And
when you take that first step out, if people don't like to see you now in this role, maybe people see Cahir who used to party and used to drink. People don't want to see that. They want the boy who drinks because that ties in with their needs.
100%.
So if I can message you and go, Cahir, we're going to get smashed here, and you go, yeah, mate, I'll see you there. Let's go. Let's do it. And that continues. Then everybody's safe in that environment. But if you go, no, I don't want to do this anymore. I've been down this same road before. What's that from a song, is it? I'll start rapping here.
You could do it.
It's from a song, isn't it? But so if you don't want to do that anymore, right, and you step out of that, kind of like what you're doing with this, you will get supporters. There's people who see the true essence of you, and they'll go, me, and I'm like, fuck, I can see what Cahir's doing here. Let's roll. Let's go. Let's push this. Yeah. This is good. There's a growth mindset. There's room for everybody. Let's get after it. Do whatever you need to do with yourself. And then you'll get the person who you phoned and went, mate, I'm not doing that now. I'm going to do something different. Well, that person has two options. They can either say, you know what, fair play to you, which is actually what they want to say. Eventually they'll say that. That's in them because it's in all of us humans. We're all connected. But first, that might be, and they might never say it. They might stay stuck there, and they might never say to you that's the right thing to do. They might resent you for it, but in some way there'll be friction, and they're the kind of people that become the haters. And for you to live your true self, for you to love yourself and be the true essence of yourself, you can't stay there anymore. You have to ignore it. So it's either supported or fuck them. And it's as brutal as that, but you have to move. You have to move. Like,
I'm glad you answered it in that way, because I can remember you saying to me before, you know, I don't give a fuck what other people think. And I have always considered myself to be very similar to that. And then, you know, the more I think about it, I don't give a fuck about what 99% of people think.
Yeah.
There's 1% that I choose to care what they think, because I know that the feedback that they will give me is relative, and they care about me and they want to see me win. When I first started doing this, you know, essentially putting out content in regards to mindset and mental health, a lot of positive feedback, but I went up to Blackwatertown, and my dad was sitting cutting the grass. He goes, Cahir, come here. And I went up to him and went, well, what's the crack? He goes, here, you need to stop putting that shite up on Facebook. And I was like, why is that? And he's, oh, people are starting to think you're mad, son. And that's just like, that initially hurt me. But then when he starts to realize and he starts to see, right, this is what he does on a day-to-day basis anyway, he may as well take this onto social media. And then I showed him a few of the messages that people would be sending me. You know, this has really helped me. You know, this has encouraged me to go into rehab. This has, you know, just if it helps one person, I'm happy enough, you know. And that genuinely is, I've said that to, you know, to a few people as well. Like, it's like, I don't think through doing this, you know, I'm going to become a millionaire. In fact, I don't want to become a millionaire, but I do know that I'm following my true passion and my true purpose. And the same for you, you know, and I know that I can get up every day, and I know that you'd be very similar in that as long as you're singing to your own soul and you're not playing to the beat of someone else's drum, you know, whoever's within my circle then should be there, and whoever isn't shouldn't. So,
100%.
Yeah.
First they'll ask you why, and then they'll ask you how.
Yeah.
Why is he doing that? Why the fuck's he doing that? Then they'll see this progression, and then they'll start asking you, here, mate, how? And that's when things start to change, is, you know, the wee message, here, mate, how did you get free? You know, like in the groups, like I suppose I've had the beauty in my life that I've kind of always been a leader. So I know what it's like to be in front and not have anybody ahead. So I'm kind of good out there. Like I feel like that's been my entire identity, is just like captain of football teams, like going to raves and just being like, fuck, I'm going. Like I'll go. I've went to raves on my own before. I've been like in that front position, like bringing CrossFit to this area was the hardest thing ever, because it's this fit. We spoke about this a wee bit on the phone. It's this fitness thing that people don't understand. That's way more expensive than any other fitness things. Oh, it also absolutely changes the fucking entire direction of your life. But there was a lot of negativity around that because it was new and nobody understood it. That's the truth. 5, 6, 7 years later now, I knew it was right all the time. Now everybody knows it was right.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where things are. Like, kind of things move and things change, and it's okay for us to change as people. It's okay for you to change and to not be that person that felt dark and fucking miserable. And then the more you own this, like, I kind of see it as like maybe like I'm just a wee bit further down this road. That's it. But the more you own this, the more you're like, and this is something that's only really came for me in COVID, to be honest, is, mate, I'm doing me now. That's it.
100%.
And if that doesn't work for you, that's cool. I'm still doing me. So I've had a big breakthrough in regards to like what I'm posting or what I'm putting out on Instagram, even the podcast. Like right now at the time, just because I'm so busy, it's actually tricky to get guests on the podcast. And I've just been enjoying doing them on my own. I'm literally like, let me fucking go on my own here. You don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
You don't want to listen to it. That's all right. I mean,
it's
free. You know what I mean? And it's actually working the other way, where the beauty of it is I'm getting more listeners now than ever before. It's actually, you can sponsor it. There's people sponsoring it. And I'm like, I'm just getting on, and it's coming from in here. There's a freedom about that.
Similar.
And then you put the blinkers on. Then you start to put the blinkers on, and you're like, right, I'm staying in this tunnel because this is happiness in here. You don't start looking anymore. You're like, right, we're in here, mate. Let's fucking stay here.
But no, Mark, it's been we've actually chatted for a good while there.
That's a beers, mate. That's a beers.
Absolutely. What was going to say to you? It's fantastic to get you on, and it's fantastic to hear someone that's doing well for themselves. Most importantly, someone that's doing what they want to do, what's right for you, not what's right for Leah, not what's right for your mom and dad, not what's right for the rest of your family. You're following your own passion, you're following your own purpose, and you're similar to myself in that you're openly and honestly working on your mental health every day. That for me is what's important here. Like, I personally see you as a catalyst, as someone that, you know, I looked at yourself and I said, you know, Jesus, there might be a different way. You know, I don't need to go out and get smashed every weekend. And it's okay to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You know, things like that, things that work for me. It's okay to meditate. It's okay to journal, so thank you. And I know people will get a lot of value out of our conversation today, even getting just a small insight into what makes you tick and your perspective on things as well. And we're all looking forward to seeing how your education and your growth and your learning, continues to present itself. So thank you, my friend.
Thank you, mate. It is all about connection. And I mean, the beauty of this opportunity is to do things like that and talk. And the big thing I kind of say to everybody is just keep going, because this stuff fucking resonates with your soul. And keep going, because there's more. There's the shit that I've seen lately, mate, there's a lot more. I can't wait to get back in there, but you have to function in this reality too. So Keep going, mate. And thank you. I will get chatting to you again soon.
Yes. Talk to you again soon, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.